Have you ever stumbled across something online that made your skin crawl? Something that you wish you could unsee? This story is about one man who didn't just stumble into the darkness of the web. He was dragged into it, and what he found there was far more horrifying than he ever imagined. James was just your average tech enthusiast. A college student with a knack for computers, he spent most of his time gaming, coding, or scrolling through online forums. He wasn't looking for trouble, but late one night, after hours of procrastinating on an essay, he found himself in a corner of the internet he had only heard rumors about, the dark web. It started innocently enough. James had been browsing a tech forum when someone mentioned a hidden website, a portal to the dark web. The post was vague, filled with warnings and cryptic messages about the dangers of curiosity. But to James, it felt like a challenge. He'd heard the stories, illegal marketplaces, shady forums, videos you'd regret clicking on. But those were just urban legends, right? With his curiosity piqued, James decided to dive in. Using a VPN in the Tor browser, he followed the instructions from the forum. The process was surprisingly simple. Within minutes, he was staring at a basic black web page with a single sentence in bright red text. "Do you dare enter?" Below it was a link. James hesitated. His rational mind told him to close the browser and forget about it. But his fingers had a mind of their own. He clicked the link. The page loaded slowly, revealing what looked like a chat room. The usernames were anonymous strings of numbers and letters, and the messages flashed by too quickly for James to keep up. But one post caught his eye. "New here? Type initiate." Against his better judgment, James typed the command. A private message popped up instantly. The sender's username was just a single word, Keeper. The message read, "Welcome, Seeker. Are you ready to see the truth?" James chuckled nervously. This was probably some elaborate prank or an online role-playing game. He typed back, "Sure, show me the truth." The Keeper responded with a link and a warning. "Once you enter, there's no turning back." James clicked the link, and his screen went black. For a moment, he thought his computer had crashed. Then a video began to play. The footage was grainy and shaky, as if recorded on an old handheld camera. It showed a dark, empty room with a single chair in the center. A man sat tied to the chair, his head slumped forward. The sound of footsteps echoed in the background, growing louder. Then a figure stepped into frame, wearing a featureless black mask. James's stomach churned. This wasn't some low-budget horror movie. It felt real. Too real. The masked figure spoke, their voice distorted. "You are now a part of this. There is no escape." Suddenly, the video ended, and James' webcam light flickered on. His heart stopped. He hadn't touched his webcam. Panicking, he tried to close the browser, but his mouse wouldn't respond. A new message appeared on the screen. "We see you, James." How did they know his name? His phone buzzed on the desk. With shaking hands, he picked it up. It was a text from an unknown number. "You shouldn't have done that." James' mind raced. Had they hacked his computer? His phone? He disconnected from the internet, yanked the plug on his desktop, and turned off his phone. For hours, he sat in the dark, too terrified to move. The next day, James tried to convince himself it was just a scare tactic, a way to keep curious people like him from venturing too far. But the paranoia lingered. He covered his webcam, changed all his passwords, and avoided the internet altogether. For a while, things seemed to return to normal. Until the packages started arriving. The first one was small, wrapped in plain brown paper. There was no return address. Inside was a USB drive. James didn't dare plug it into his computer. He threw it away, hoping that would be the end of it. It wasn't. The second package came a week later. This time, it contained a photo, a grainy image of his college dorm building, taken at night. James's blood ran cold. Someone was watching him. He reported it to campus security, but they brushed it off as a prank. Even his friends didn't take him seriously. "You're overthinking it, dude," his roommate said. "It's probably just some weirdo trying to mess with you." But James knew better. The fear was eating away at him. He started skipping classes, staying locked in his room with a baseball bat by his side. Sleep became impossible. Every shadow outside his window, every creak of the floorboards, sent him into a panic. One night, as he sat in the dim glow of his desk lamp, his phone buzzed again. Another text from an unknown number. "Look outside." James froze. Slowly, he turned to the window. The curtains were drawn, but he could see the faint outline of a figure standing just beyond the glass. He grabbed the baseball bat and yanked the curtain open. No one was there. But taped to the outside of the window was another photo. This one was of him, taken from inside his room. James knew he couldn't stay there any longer. He packed a bag and left that night, driving aimlessly for hours until he found a cheap motel on the outskirts of town. He paid in cash and used a fake name, hoping to disappear. But the fear followed him. No matter how far he ran, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. The texts continued, each one more threatening than the last. He changed his number, but it didn't help. They always found him. One message stood out: "You belong to us now." James knew he couldn't live like this. Desperate for answers, he returned to the dark web, hoping to find the keeper again. But the site was gone, wiped from existence as if it had never been there. To this day, James lives in fear. He's changed his name, his appearance, his entire life. But the paranoia never left him. Sometimes he wakes up in the middle of the night, certain he's not alone, and sometimes he's right. If you ever find yourself tempted to explore the dark web, remember James' story. Some doors are meant to stay closed, and once you open them, you might not be able to shut them again. Subscribe for more stories like this. You never know when the next one might hit a little too close to home.